Children screaming cat here. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. Thank you for joining me. If you've checked out any of my past videos, thank you for watching those. You can also follow me on Instagram and Pinterest. I'm always on Pinterest pinning fun plant things. I thought it would be fun to talk about beginner plants, not even beginner plants, the beginnings of plants or plant collecting if you're looking to get into that. I've had a lot of friends and family, ask me questions in the past, present, current time, who are interested in getting plants and collecting them. I thought I would just cover basics, like basic steps on getting a new plant. Maybe that's what this is called, basic steps on getting a new plant. So you are in the market for a new plant. What do you look for? What questions do you ask yourself? First question you're going to ask yourself is, what is your light situation? What side is your windows facing? What in the heck? What direction are your windows facing? South windows, west windows, east windows, north windows, southwest windows, etc. You're going to hear a lot that south and west facing windows are best. That's because the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. That's where the sun sits most of the day. And so that is the best light. And so you're going to usually want your plant like 6 feet back, at least from a window, depending on what it is. And so light is really important. You hear about low light plants. It's just not true. Every plant needs light. There is no such thing as a low light plant. They can tolerate low light. Will they thrive in low light? No. Will they grow to their full potential in low light? No. They will sustain themselves in the low light situation. Now, if you're not keeping the water correct or the soil, the proper way that it needs to, that plant is probably going to quickly decline. And so having enough light for your plant is very important. At one point, the fiddle leaf fig was so popular, and so everyone was bringing them into their home. I know I've seen so many other people bring them into their home currently because they are everywhere now. They're in Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. You can walk into any store and get a fiddle leaf fig for like $30. And so it's just an easy, quick buy, and they were the plants of the year. However, what people didn't realize is those are trees. Those are like, if you see the trees in your outside, those are the covering of the ground. And so they're the highest, they go up the highest, they grow the largest, and they need the most light. And so that is one thing that people don't give them enough of, is light. And so that's where you can kind of see different situations happening where people aren't happy then, and they're mad that they don't work out, and they feel like they're being false advertised because these people are growing them to, like, if you've seen Plantarina, like, has huge ficus, and it's because they're getting direct light daily. And so in order to maintain a plant like that, you need a lot of light. Then you have other plants like pothos. Pothos are very popular, easily accessible, and they do tolerate lower light. And so those are a great beginner plant. That's why you see so many people suggest them, is because they're drought tolerant, low light tolerant, and just usually non-fussy plants. However, they do require light. In typical pothos like environment, they would love to be in a west facing, south facing window. I had mine right here in a south and west facing window, and it grew very large and was very happy and lush. And now I've put it in this is a south and west facing window. And if you've watched my previous video, you will know that we moved, and now I'm dealing with lower light situations. And so it has started to not be happy. If you're okay with your plant not thriving to its full potential, and you just want to use it in a decor situation where you're not trying to grow it again to its full potential, then lower light situations, it can last. And light is important. Before anything, getting a plant, going out and finding one, figure out what your light situation is, because that then is going to tell you what type of plant you can care for. Which brings me to point 2. What type of plant do you want? Are you looking for something that is easy care? Or are you looking for something that's a little bit more needy? Do you want something that vines? Do you want it? Are you looking for a tree? Like, these are all questions to ask you when you're trying to fill a space. For me personally, what started my plant like obsession was I wanted to live in a jungle. I love looking at plants. I love the greenery of it. I love feeling like I am outdoors. That is where I'm happiest. And so for me, I really wanted to bring them into my space. I didn't want them to sit in a greenhouse cabinet in another room with grow lights all around it to help it survive. And so that was key in knowing which plants would work in my space. Your light leads you to what type of plant you have, leads you to like what type of plant you want to actually care for. And so all of those questions go into purchasing your plant. If you're looking for something lower maintenance, pothos, sansevieria, Dracaena, philodendron of sorts are easy. Some are harder to care for, the more higher end plants. You could get Hoya. I think string of hearts and string of pearls, string of dolphins, anything stringy like that, I think that that's really a difficult plant to care for. So it depends on what you're willing to put your time and effort into. I remember I went into one of my first actual plant stores, like a little boutique plant store where I lived, and I thought like I had kind of developed a green thumb. So my ficus was thriving. I did get a ficus lyrata. It was doing great. I had several other little plants and I was like, I'll go get something else. So before really thinking about, again, light or what my personal ability to care for a plant was, I went in and I found this pretty little plant. And it had black leaves, because if you know me, I love black and white. Those are pretty much, it's literally what I'm wearing right now. Black leaves with little pink pinstripes in it. And if anybody knows where I'm going, they already know the end of the story. But I picked up this plant. I thought it was beautiful. I really wanted it. It had really cool leaves on it. So I went up to the register and I bought it. Little did I know that I just purchased one of the most difficult plants to care for. One of the biggest pet peeves is when you go into plant stores, and I don't care if you look like you know everything. Okay, just ask your customer, hey, do you know how to care for this plant? Do you know what this plant is? What kind of light do you have? Because had that person asked me, I would have said no to that plant. Had they told me what it was, I would have said no, because it was a pinstripe calathea. And yes, it died about 3 days later. Literally, like not very much longer. But calathea are known to be problems. They are widely hated. Is a strong word. However, I know that that's how most people feel about them. But they are so beautiful and their leaves are so pretty. Some of them are velvet and they're just so enticing. You want one because they look so pretty. Like the orbifolia is one of my favorite plants. It's beautiful, like round leaves. There are not many plants with round leaves like these, with like beautiful coloring, and so they're very attractive and people often buy them because they are so attractive. However, what they don't realize is they just bought a plant that is very particular, needs filtered water, needs high humidity, it does not like high light, and if you look at it the wrong way, it will die. Just knowing beforehand, you don't have to know every genus, you don't have to look up every plant, but there's a great new feature on, I think, every single phone out there. I know I have an Android, I'm a weird user, but they have it on the iPhone. I know I've seen it. They have it on the Android where you can take a photo of a plant and you can identify it without even leaving your photo app. It makes it very easy to figure out what a plant is and what the care is from there. So it makes it really easy and really great to be able to identify a plant and figure out, okay, this is probably a little needier. Like ferns. Ferns are widely liked for outdoors. Indoors, they do not do well. They're like the calathea. They like filtered water, high humidity. Don't look at them. A lot of people get them because they're everywhere. In Lowe's, that's all I see are ferns. Like you got a bird's nest fern, you got a rabbit foot fern, you've got a maidenhair fern, all the ferns. They want to sell all the ferns because they're going to die and you're going to be back for more. That's their whole gimmick, okay? You kill the plant, you come back for another one. So let's stop that. let's just take a picture of the plant, figure out what it is, figure out if that's what you can care for, and then put it back or bring it home if you feel like you can. Anyways, you're going to want to know what the plant is to see if you can actually care for it or not. The other thing is, I kind of touched on it, is water. A lot of my plants I watered with filtered water, specifically my alocasia, my calathea, and some of my philodendron, because not every plant responds to all the chemicals that you have in just your normal tap water. And so that's something to think about. If you're having a struggle with one of your plants and you know it's not the soil, you know you're watering correctly, you know it doesn't need repotted or anything like that, I would look at your water. What you can do testing, you can do water tests. I don't go that elaborate. If I notice that a plant is starting to turn, like for instance, my Ansonii, my Monstera, I had one and it did not like my water. It died. I knew there was no pests. I knew there was no watering issues on my end. The soil was fine. The roots were fine. It was the water. And so I started having to water that one with filtered water. I watered this one with filtered water. And so there are some plants that are going to require more. Again, with the calathea, the ferns, they like higher humidity. There are other plants out there that love high humidity, however, can deal without that. If you're just looking for a plant to fill in space, you're not concerned with any of that. You just need to look at the light and look at your level of what you can handle as far as plant care. Maybe this is too intimidating. I apologize if that's so, but this is my brain process of buying a new plant and giving advice to people on plants. So I get really excited helping people who have just purchased a plant figure out what is best. But before you go into it, if you don't know or whatever, just do some research. Maybe go into Lowe's, check out what plants they do have. I know different Lowe's have different plants in different areas, and so just figure out oh, this plant's attractive, and then do the little app thing to figure out what the plant is and what its care is, and then say, okay, does this work for my space? If you are designing with plants like I did often in my old home, then what you kind of have a typically in your brain what you want, where you want it, but you might not be able to have that plant. So do a little digging on what is actually going to work for your space. So I don't know, I hope that helps. I'll do a part 2 probably of okay, if it's time for repotting. It can get really you could probably get in the trenches. Yeah. You could probably get in the trenches with this conversation because it's going to be different everywhere. It's going to be different in every single house. And so, yeah, I would just look at your light, look at what you were looking for in a plant in your space, and then go and research those plants to see if it's actually going to work out. And then I would say just do your research, know what the plant is, know what your space is, and what you have the capacity for, because some of these plants, I'll tell you, I don't have the capacity for it. Ferns don't have the capacity. A lot of calathea don't have the capacity. So anthuriums, a lot of it don't have the capacity. It's too much. So as beautiful as they are, and as much as I would love to have them in my home, I just know that my light, my care, preference, or time just doesn't allow for that. And so that's the biggest part. Just know what you are prepared for, or what you have to offer, and then go out and find the right plant that's for you. So hope this helps. Thank you for watching. You can like the video, share it with anybody who's struggling. Maybe this helps with their plant issues, because that's the worst thing, is to just go out and get a plant and you're really excited because this is a new trend and everybody's on it, and you want to be there too because they're beautiful and it's fun. And then you get it and you get home and you're like, why is my plant dying? What is happening? It's all different. It's all based on your environment. And so hopefully you don't get discouraged, and you keep trying and trying and trying and you keep trying, and you find the right plant for you. So it's out there for everyone. This sounds like a dating, I'm setting people up, but I want to set people up with their perfect plants. So have fun plant shopping, and yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any other first plant owner tips. I know there are tons. Pest control, I know people have their soil and their all of their different things. So yeah, anything that helps anybody who wants to have a plant for the first time, drop it in the comments, like this video, share, and thank you for watching.